Do you know that every 39 seconds a cyber attack occurs? In this digital age, understanding cybersecurity terms is crucial for protecting our information. In the rapidly evolving world of technology, cybersecurity has become a cornerstone of protecting sensitive information. From personal data breaches to sophisticated attacks on large corporations, cybersecurity incidents are increasingly common. In this introduction, we will explore some fundamental cybersecurity definitions that form the backbone of understanding how to protect and secure digital information. In simple words, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting your personal information such as passwords and credit card numbers, or your devices like computers or smartphones, or your online accounts like social media or email, or your personal data like photos or documents. So, cybersecurity is practice of protecting your sensitive informations like personal information, devices, online accounts, or personal data from being accessed, stolen, or damaged by unauthorized people or malicious software. So, in simple words, cybersecurity is like locking your digital doors and windows to keep the bad guys out. Now we will cover the following important terms in cybersecurity field. When answering definition questions in cybersecurity interview, we start with a clear and concise definition with a real world example. So we have a definition of an authentication process. So let's have a scenario like logging into an email account. The first step is you go to your email provider's website like a Gmail or Yahoo Mail. You enter your username and password, and the email server checks the entered username and password. Again, it's stored credentials. If the username and password match the records, the system verifies that you are an authorized user. Once verified, you gain access to your email account, allowing you to read, send, and manage your emails. So this simple example illustrates the basic process of authentication, ensuring that only authorized users can access their email accounts. So in simple words, authentication is verifying the identity of a user, device, or a system. Next is the important definition of an authorization. To define authorization, we have a small example of a bank. There are various job roles in a bank like teller, loan officer, or bank manager. Here, a bank employee like teller logs into a bank's internal system using their username and password. The system verifies the employee's credentials to confirm their identity, which means authentication. After successful authentication, the system checks the employee's role and permission to determine what actions they are allowed to perform. Here, the teller logs into the bank system and tries to access a high-value customer's account. Similarly, a loan officer logs into a system to review a loan application, and a branch manager logs into to review the branch performance reports. So, according to their job roles, their responsibility varies. So, authorization determines what actions the authenticated employee can perform based on their role. So, this scenario illustrates how the authorization ensures that bank employees can only access information and perform actions appropriate to their roles, so that enhancing security and compliance within the bank. So, in simple terms, authorization is granting access to resources based on user identity and permissions. Next important concept is encryption. To define encryption, we have to explain one simple example. Here we have a scenario like Alice wants to send a confidential email to Bob. Then she uses a encryption to ensure the email content is secure. So in other words, encryption is the process of converting plain text into ciphertext to prevent unauthorized access to the data. So this is the simple definition of encryption, that is the process of converting plain text into a ciphertext to prevent unauthorized access to data. Next is about firewall. Firewall is a network security system that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing traffic. This is the definition of firewall. We have an example like a company wants to protect its internal network from external threats. They decide to implement a firewall. Another example is this company uses a firewall to allow employees to access the internet but restrict access to certain websites. This is about the example and definition of firewall. Next is about malware. Malware means that malicious software. Examples of malwares are trojan horse, adware, virus, worm, ransomware, etc. Suppose a user downloads a free software application from an untrusted website. What will happen? Soon after the installation, the computer starts behaving erratically. This is because of Trojan horse malwares. And another example is like company server suddenly becomes inaccessible, displaying a message demanding a payment to restore access to the files. This is because of another malware which is called ransomware. So in simple words, malware is a malicious software, refers to any software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to computer systems. Next important definition is phishing. Phishing is a common type of cyber attack that targets individuals through email, text messages, phone calls, and other form of communication. For example, if you receive an email that appears to be from your bank and informing you of suspicious activity on your account, then the email includes a link that directs you to a website that looks almost identical to your bank's official site. You are prompted to enter your login credentials to verify your identity. Once you do, the attackers capture your information and can use it to access your real bank account. This is about the example of phishing. In simple words, phishing is tricking individuals into revealing sensitive information through fraudulent emails, text, or messages. This is another type of a malware. Imagine you are an IT administrator for a mid-sized company. One morning you receive multiple reports from employees stating that they cannot access their files. Instead of their documents, they see a ransom note demanding payment in cryptocurrency to restore access. Upon further investigation, you discover that several critical servers and numerous workstations are also affected and displaying similar ransom messages. This is a case of ransomware, and its definition is like it is a malicious software that demands payment in exchange for restoring access to data. To define vulnerability, we have a simple example. Imagine you are a cyber security analyst at a financial institution. During a routine vulnerability scan, you identify a critical security flaw in one of your web applications. The vulnerability is an SQL injection, which means that SQLi flow that allows an attacker to execute arbitrary SQL code on the backend database. This is about the example of vulnerability, and in simple words, vulnerability is a weakness in a system or a software that can be exploited by attackers. Next is zero-day exploit. Imagine you are a cybersecurity engineer at a software company. One day, a customer reports unusual activity on their systems. which they attribute to your software. After a detailed investigation, you discovered that a previously unknown vulnerability, that means 0-day, in your software has been exploited by attackers to gain unauthorized access. This is a one scenario of 0-day exploit. So, 0-day exploit is an attack that takes advantage of a previously unknown vulnerability. Next is about patching. Imagine you are an IT administrator for a mid-sized company. You recently discovered that a critical vulnerability CVE 2023-12345 has been reported in one of your company's widely used software applications. Then the software vendor has released a patch to address this vulnerability. So in simple terms, patching is updating software or systems to fix security vulnerabilities. Here imagine you are a web developer for an e-commerce company that processes customer payments online. Then you decide to implement HTTPS, which means that Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, which ensures that data transmitted between your users and your web server is encrypted, so that protecting sensitive information like credit card details and personal data. So secure here the secure protocol is HTTPS. So secure protocol is a set of rules and regulations for securely transmitting data such as HTTPS. Next important term is two-factor authentication or 2FA. We already studied about the term authentication, which means that verifying identity. Other than password, 2FA uses fingerprint or cards. Let's have an example is that imagine you are a system administrator for a financial institution. To improve security, you decide to implement two-factor authentication for accessing the company's internal systems, especially for remote access and sensitive applications. So 2FA is verifying identity through two separate forms of authentication such as password and fingerprint. Thank you for your attention and participation in today's class. Here is a quick recap of what we covered. First one is authentication, verifying the identity of a user, device or system. Authorization is granting access to resources based on user identity and permissions. Encryption is process of converting plain text into ciphertext to prevent unauthorized access to data. Firewall is a network security system that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing traffic. Malware is a software designed to harm or exploit a computer system such as viruses, trojans, and ransomware. Phishing is tricking individuals into revealing sensitive information through fraudulent emails, text, or messages. Ransomware is a malicious software that demands payments in exchange for restoring access to data. Vulnerability is a weakness in a system or software that can be exploited by attackers. Zero-day exploit is an attack that takes advantages of a previously unknown vulnerability. Patching is updating software or systems to fix security vulnerabilities. Secure protocol is a set of rules and regulations for securely transmitting data such as HTTPS. Two-factor authentication is verifying identity through two separate forms of authentication such as password and fingerprint. I hope this class is very useful for you. Thank you.